it's just wild. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's happened that it's kind of too late to talk about. There's some stuff we are going to mention anyway because I still want to rip on JT Miller because he's bad.
Man.
Man, it's just we might as well open with
Uh,
that. Hockey night last night. We can get to that. The
uh,
the All Star
yeah.
game, all that. But like, I just want to talk about that. I love that we're getting to the point where it's almost tradition that after every Canucks game, there are clips of JT Miller and his lack of effort on this. It's not even just defensive plays anymore that he's starting. Alex is rubbing his eyes right now. He's like every Canucks fan right now.
Yeah, it's on this edition of What's Wrong with the Canucks on the 2-on-1 podcast. Like that's again, we're back here again. We definitely talked about them on the 28th when we did our last episode last year.
Oh, okay. That's
There it
that's
is.
your one. That's your one.
No, man, it's what makes it a little bit worse too. And like I understand why he does it, but I just think because it's a Canadian market and because of the hoopla, like how it is in Canada, things just can't be easy. JT Miller comes out with his quotes, right? And saying, my production's down because I'm doing the details. And it's
Wasn't
just like,
cheating the game.
are you doing the details? Like, I get it. Like there's a little bit of me that feels bad for him, but the sports guy in me, the journalism graduate in me does not feel bad for him, right? Because it's like, of course that's the easy question to ask. Of course you're gonna ask it, but man, he is not making it easy on himself.
It really speaks to he's been so bad. Even the hockey night crew have called him out on the broadcast. That's difficult to do. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen very often.
no, it doesn't.
It's the same thing. Kelly Rudy was saying something, and the only time he criticizes someone is blaming a goalie on a 2-on-0. Never forget when he blamed Carey Price for one. God damn it. I just don't know what you can do because you can't move that contract. You can't do it. And every mistake that's happened to him, like Tyson Barrie's reputation has been forever stained. I think he's only starting to get a bit of respect back probably this year from his that's what him being a Leaf did to his career for a bit. I don't know how exactly you look at JT Miller, and we haven't even mentioned him barking at Spencer Martin for not going off the
No,
ice.
Colin Delia.
Colin Delia, sorry, why did I say Christian? Who did I just say?
Spencer
Spencer
Martin.
Martin. Sorry, I knew it was Delia, the third string goalie, by the way. Barking at him, JT Miller, Mr. Never cheats the game in his own eyes, but we all know he does. I wouldn't leave the net if I was a goaltender and it was still in my zone. Much less, I'm just ignoring that it's JT Miller. Man, Wayne Gretzky can have the puck, and I'm saying, brother, clear the blue line and I'll go.
Well, and so that happened, and it created a nightmare on Twitter because now you have the JT Miller lovers and the JT Miller haters.
Are there still
Just
lovers?
I don't know if there's lovers per se, but we'll call them defenders for the case of this
Okay.
scenario.
Okay.
Um, but and then you have the goalie guys who are there too, who are like, listen, like this is just what he's told to do. Like you're right. Like all the goalie guys, I think I saw the first one I saw was Mike McKenna, who was like, no, I think Colin Delia made the right decision there. Like, man, it was just it's just infuriating. I'm sure they brushed it off. The whole thing that happened afterwards was JT Miller was saying, like, we don't even care. Like in the room, it doesn't matter to us. And I'm sure that's true, but it's just it's not a great look.
It's that classic thing of, do you know what? Winning masks a lot of issues. If they were a winning team right now, that's maybe one thing, and it's the story as Miller's competitive nature and doopity doopity doo. But the way they are and the heat that JT Miller has gotten. I mean, if there's one fan base that's not going to be forgiving to you when you're losing, it sure is Vancouver. It's one of those. Like, I don't think we talk about Vancouver enough unless they're bad, but we talk about they're another market that they praise you to hell if you're good, but the vitriol in that market, it's a different kind of one. I feel like in Toronto and Montreal, we can be a lot more lighthearted with our teams, but Canucks fans just get like angry. Angry. Now
Yeah.
I'll get angry with my Kaufman, I won't lie. But healthy scratch my Kaufman. But it's just with Vancouver, it's just Miller. I can't imagine. Well, I doubt he cares, to be honest, because he's made the bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just you just can't get away from it there.
The thing is like at the same time we can put all of this on Miller, but I don't think that's necessarily the I don't want to say fair, but let's say the right thing, because it's like they were talking about, I think on the Jeff Merrick show, it was either Jeff Merrick show or 32 Thoughts. I don't remember which one.
They mentioned the chicken package, right?
They mentioned that too. But they were talking about how I don't remember which game it was, but they just all look deflated.
Yeah,
And it's like,
imagine.
I understand why you look deflated. I can understand the reason. Like your season's not going well. You're having a repeat of what you've had the last 2 years. And so, but at the same time, it's like someone's got to do something. And it's again, you know, I think the talks about Bruce Boudreau have kind of simmered
Man,
off a bit in
what's
terms of
happening there? What's
like
happening?
in terms of him being fired. And I think again, we talked about it in Toronto. Let's look at it in Vancouver. You're going to fire the coach for the same group of players. That's not going to solve your issue. I think that's why I'm hesitant to be like Bruce Boudreau this, Bruce Boudreau that. I think some players have to take responsibility here, and
Well,
JT Miller's not the only one.
it's hard to see where there isn't blame because management, it's weird. Patrick Alvin, it just feels like him and Kent Hughes, two recent GMs here in Canada, have only been around about a year. I think Alvin, was he hired before Kent Hughes? Not important. But those guys have only been around a year. Not to mention, Jim Rutherford always gets the headlines in Vancouver, and I think people need to mention Alvin a bit more. By the way, I've stood by that for a couple months now. If you don't think he's making major decisions and it's all not Jeremy Rutherford, Jim Rutherford, I think you're a bit crazy. But it's the money they've given out already to those top guys. Here's where it lies with JT Miller, right? Is he is a leader. He just got his new contract. He has blame. There's also a thing on management here because besides the money they gave out to new guys, Ilya Mikheyev and JT Miller, after clamoring about wanting to move money for like the past since they got there, what they've also done is because of their clear and very, very public sort of displeasure with Bruce Boudreau being there, is you instantly take away any sort of, I guess, power he has in the room because the players know who cares if he doesn't like us. He's not going to be here. And I know earlier in the year, apparently there was that meeting where management said, listen, there could be wholesale changes. Player, no one is safe here, exception, Pettersson, Hughes. But like, if I'm a Canucks player, I'm saying, you have been saying this about some of our players, aka Brock Besser for one. The guy they got from, I can't remember his name, little guy from Arizona they got. What's his name, Alex? Please help me.
Connor Garland.
From Connor Garland, you've been saying we're going to be gone for like a year. So you haven't done anything. So then Boudreau doesn't have any power there. The roster is a problem. Goaltending hasn't been great. Poor Thatcher Demko is hurt. If your name isn't Bo Horvat, and it's not Elias Pettersson, you're not pulling your weight there. It's just a total unwinnable situation in Vancouver. And you can't clean house management because you just did that. You can't clean house in your coaching staff because you just did that, even though I think it's pretty safe to say they will have a new head coach next year.
Next year, yeah.
So you just got to ride out this year and hope that you get Connor Bedard or one of those amazing players. So right now, they're 25th, which is interesting. 2 games in hand over the Canadians, who are 2 places behind them. I mentioned that because that's the standard bearer right now. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered the question without answering the question. And the thing they need to do is, and again, this isn't easy because who the hell's making trades right now? But someone's going to be good. Like by the time we get to the trade deadline, there's a few players on that team who are no longer going to be on that team. Bo Horvat is probably going to be gone. Brock Besser is probably going to be gone. You know, if like I'm going to make this about the NHL. Sorry, but like someone has to be looking at this. Like there has to be managers who aren't saying anything and who are like, what on earth are we doing here? No one can make a trade. Like you texted me last night and I didn't watch 32 thoughts headlines or whatever we call it on the show. But like there's nothing to talk about because no one can make a move. Who has the cap space?
So you do mention Brock Besser. I will bring this up because they did mention it.
Okay.
Friedman believes they will take one more run at doing Horvat. Obviously, and he emphasizes they don't want to go over the JT Miller contract, which I feel like would just piss off Bo Horvat. But yeah, it feels like he's basically gone. I want to make a bet, Alex, that Horvat's their only move. And somehow maybe they even cock that up. There's just something where I don't believe they're going to do anything during the season. Not even just the cap thing. It's just, it feels like they're so, for all of the things they say about Jim Rutherford, and he's got this trigger finger. Like what's been his big move? Again, I understand that there is, yeah, like what's been his big trade?
He hasn't had one.
Yeah, listen, I get there are cap issues. Man, the best GMs and presidents in this league find a way. You know what I mean?
And I bring this up again. What is Francesco Aquilini doing right now?
That's a very good question. That's one that always has to be. Well, I mean, right now he's got a lawsuit, but
yeah, well, I guess that's why he's been extremely quiet.
He may have 2 suits on his kids and Rachel Dory.
Yeah. So again, what's he saying? What's he saying in the background about this team? Because remember how reluctant he was to make a move at all. Remember how his arm had to be twisted to let go of Travis Green, to then let go of Jim Benning. Mm-hmm. Like, I just wonder how much sway, like obviously he's the owner, so he has all the sway, but how much sway does he have? Like, is he, I wonder if, because the thing is, this team is good enough. I think like the pieces they have in terms of at the top, in the 3 players in Hughes, Pedersen, and Demko are good enough.
Yeah.
That's something you can build around.
Yep. 100%.
So why is there no effort to figure that out? Why are you like using the same players? The only difference being Ilya Mikheyev, who's been fine this year, to do this again. Like, is anyone, like, someone's got to look at this and say, we're doing the same thing we've done the last 2 years. They're still holding on to the cup, not the conference finals run, or
the worst thing you can do.
Yeah,
the bubble, the bubble. We shall call it the Demcoat bubble Demcoat run. Everyone knows what